It's a fact you're not here. You ain't even real, but you still bring me fear. You make my bones so tired that my soul stands up. But now I'm starting to need to bleed to fill this cup. It's like I'm starting to need to bleed to fill this cup. Oh.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to The Working Wing, the podcast where every week we, what do we do here? We bring you news from around the country and around the world and break it down from our own unique working leftist perspective. And from time to time, we'll also talk about relevant entertainment to our interests. My name is Tim Schultz, and joining me, as always, a man who I completely forgot to think of an analogy for or any kind of clever phrase. It's Killian Collins.
And don't I just remind you of him just a little?
Yes,
just
yes,
a
you
little.
do. Of him, whoever that is. Just a little. Yeah, I feel rusty. We haven't done this in like 2 weeks, and like I feel I can feel myself coated with rust here. So
well, yeah, it's a bit of a strange. We're in a bit of a strange period too. Of like we're still kind of in between an election year. There hasn't been like major developments of like any like major like striking stuff. I mean, you're telling me you told me about like the
actually this
stuff.
Yeah, this is actually one of the biggest news weeks we've had in a while. Major decision at the Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm.
Major breaking news that hit like yesterday evening, and then some rat fucker shenanigans in the entertainment industry with the Directors Guild. So,
but really, Tim, is that news?
No,
that
it's
news,
not
or is
news.
that just business?
That is just business, but I think all labor situations are relevant to our interests, so we'll dig a little bit into that.
There you go.
But I guess let's start with like the biggest, freshest off the presses news, which is that late last evening. That's the wrong. Our channel for this is Working Wing, not Bard. Yes, there we go.
Woo!
Yes, there we go. But yes, last night on his social media platform, Truth Social, Donald Trump preemptively announced that he had been indicted by the federal government on 7 charges relating to the whole classified documents case, and it really was breaking news. Because at least going by what I was reading in AP about this morning, like not even other relevant like law enforcement groups had been informed about the indictments, like being ready to be handed down. Like they hadn't told the U.S. Marshals, they hadn't told anybody outside the core team at the Justice Department. So like Donald Trump just wanted to get ahead of everybody. It was like the first time in United States history that a president, former or current, has ever been indicted by the federal government.
I mean, Tricky Dick was going to, but then
he and Gerald Ford preempted all of that.
Right.
With their pardon, which I mean could still play out. We'll see how this election goes. If Donald Trump somehow wins this upcoming election, then that he could pardon himself. But we kind of, he was indicted in New York earlier this year, and you and I kind of decided between ourselves that we weren't really going to cover that because that felt different to this. I mean, that was a case that it seemed like the New York prosecutors had kind of just dropped for years and then decided to revive in the past few months.
Yeah.
This was like a 7-month investigation that started late last year when the Mar-a-Lago raid was going on and all of that. And I mean, I think there is something there. And it's also worth pointing out that like state officials, when you get indicted by like a state justice department or a district attorney, typically around like 55 to 60% conviction rates in those jurisdictions. The federal government has a 95% conviction rate.
I do think Trump's going to be in that 5% though. Like I'm pretty sure that like if anyone's going to make that exception of the 5%, it's going to be someone of his class. That's the honest truth, like that I have about it. Like I do view this much more as like, because honestly, if they want to put those indictments down anytime for Joe Biden with his classified documents, I'm down. Like I am down like a clown, Charlie Brown. But they're not going to do. Well, Trump might do it if he gets elected. It's just more. Well, I don't think Trump will be too worried about Joe Biden beating him if he beats him this time.
Well, I mean, I think there's a reason why Joe hasn't spoken about this since last November, but
he's not the guy.
But I mean, they are different cases, though. They are.
Yeah, I mean, they both involve classified documents. They both.
Well, but it's worth noting that only one of the 7 charges against Trump is for actually mishandling classified material. The other 6 charges are due to like evidence destruction and lying to authorities and obstruction of justice and conspiracy to obstruct justice.
Because conspiracy is a little. Conspiracy, you can kind of throw at anything, though. Like I do have to admit that. Like that, those are the charges they all have up against. I very much view this as like this is like them trying to stop him from running legally. Like they're trying to put up all this.
I disagree. I honestly do, because it's not going to stop him from running. It's not even going to stop him. It would not stop even if he was convicted. I mean, Eugene Debs ran for president from jail.
I think he would not even be if that happened. It sucks.
Yeah. But I mean, one of these charges is like an espionage charge, which is I think up to 10 years in prison is what he could get.
Yeah, if he's convicted on it. But it's like, to be honest with you, it's like, yeah, I'm not sure if any of this is going to stick though. I mean, it's like, I mean, this is what indictments are. They're like, they're accusations.
They are.
And it's like, it's basically like seeing what you're really up against here, and there's many other indictments that have happened in the last couple of years that I am very much against. I mean, I don't like Trump though. Granted, the people I talk about the Huru movement, like they're very different than Donald Trump. Like I feel much less sympathetic to Trump going to jail for many other things, and he probably should go to jail for more than just this kind of like legal chicanery. I'm kind of viewing this as, but
chicanery. Yes. We will see. It's interesting. It's too early to see how this will affect. I mean, this probably helps him in the Republican primary and hurts him in general. Would be my imagination.
These polls are not like like getting scarier. Like it's like it is, and it's like, and I keep thinking too. It's like, well, yeah, they'll just be like, because none of the other Republican candidates seem to be like going anywhere, especially DeSantis. DeSantis is like not really gaining.
DeSantis is tanking right now.
Yeah, like at all. So we still have another year and a half, and we keep saying this, like we still have like a long way, like 6 months, 3 months. A lot of things could happen in an election. A lot of things could happen in a political landscape until then.
Yes, for sure.
Because we don't even know. We could be looking at like a Kamala versus Trump ticket, even. Like it's like this is a possibility.
I mean, that's true. Both people at the top of either side are very old men who are like not known for taking care of themselves. So
wear some compression socks, fellas.
Yeah, exactly. Don't take off your compression socks just to impress the 25-year-old you're sleeping with. Just a word of advice from us and from the writing staff of Succession.
Yeah. God damn. Yeah, but no, it's it's interesting stuff that's brought up with this. But Yeah, but you were telling me about basically that the Directors Guild are a bunch of fuck rats or a bunch of shit rats.
Yeah, rat fuckers. Well, it's a the Directors Guild has not. They've reached a proposal with the studio group where
This is
ba-
this
ba-
is this is not the Writers
this
Guild,
is
right?
not the writers. This is not the
Okay.
writers. The writers are still on strike.
Okay.
But basically, like the fact that the Directors Guild were negotiating while the writers were on strike is not an accident.
Yeah.
The structures of the contracts of all three major entertainment guilds, writers, directors, actors, are deliberately staggered in this way because the studios have a playbook they use in these labor disputes, which is, the writers have gone on strike 8 times over the past 70 years. So the writers are always, lefty, intractable people who love to strike. So, and the directors are, the closest to the production companies. They're the most corporate minded of all three of these groups.
It's almost as if like there's like a tier of labor that where there's like middle management.
Middleman, yeah, exactly. And then you have the actors coming on the tail, but like the tactics here and what we've seen in this director's tentative proposal is that the studios basically come to like a little bit of a sweetheart guild with the directors, and they give modified concessions on all the major issues in the entertainment industry to the directors while the writers are on strike. The directors approve it, and then the studio turns around and says, see, these people are willing to work with us.
Yeah.
It's only the stubborn, lazy writers who don't want to come back to work.
Huh.
And so like the details of this Directors Guild is like enhanced royalties for what based on like streaming subscribers. There's an acknowledgement that like there's an acknowledgement that AI are not people and that you cannot give directing tasks to AI. There's also increased payment for the murky pre-production phase that exists in like streaming production, which is exactly what like the mini rooms that the writers have been complaining about, where they're tasked with like writing shows in a month before shows are even greenlit.
See, they need to actually write a show with AI and like try to market it and show how bad it is.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. Like,
I mean, I understand writers like fuck up, like, and really make mistakes and like, like throw an entire season away. I understand that happens. Like that's human error. That's a negotiation you have to have, but it's like, I don't think that I don't think AI is quite. It's getting there, but I don't think it's quite at the point of like where it's going to take audience feedback and then like continue to add on the story without human input. Like it's not. We're not quite there yet.
Right, but the studio doesn't want to set a precedent by like saying they're not going to give writing jobs to AI.
Well, that leaves a lot of lanes open for independent people.
I mean, the problem is all writers are independent people right now.
Yeah.
They're all treated as disposable freelance laborers. They've turned Hollywood writing into a gig economy, basically. And you've done your share of gig economy work.
Just today, I was getting screwed by it before I got on.
Yeah, it can be really hard to build a life doing gig work like that.
Especially if you're just doing it alone. I have another side job to like. Well, it's my side job to like help me along. But if it's the main thing you're relying on, it's not consistent. it's like you're definitely going to have waves of things going on, and there's the people out there who are going to say like, well, you're just like not out there working hard enough. It's like you have slow periods. You have periods where it doesn't make sense for you to be out there as much as
Right.
you are. It also you will be doing work where it is not worth what you're getting paid at all.
Exactly.
At all.
And that's the major thing that because like a lot of these anti-union people will throw out stuff like, oh, writers are making more money than ever, you know. Oh, they're getting paid, you know, $30,000 to do 4 weeks of work, and they're crying about it. And it's like, well, no, that $30,000 probably won't be paid to them until like, you know, 6 months to a year after they do the work. And also, like, if that's taking up a quarter of your year, then like that's a problem. Especially if you're living in LA.
Yeah, so you're just accumulating debt, trying to like live before you do get paid that bulk, and then when you are paid that bulk, you're just paying off what you've already borrowed and not able to save up anything for this for like
right.
For the
And like we kind of talked about this. We talked about this with that LASD support staff strike, where like the thing that really swung things in their favor was solidarity with the teachers. And based on all the reports I've read about what's going on out in LA right now, it seems like the writers are getting a lot of support from both the IATSA, which I forget the enactment, but it's basically like the support staff. It's the, you know, it's the gaffers and the
crew union, like
the crew union. Yes, exactly.
Okay. That's good.
They are refusing in many cases to cross Writers Guild picket lines.
Yeah.
And so that's shut down a number of active Hollywood productions that would otherwise be working. Same with the Teamsters union.
That's
actually
good.
In many cases the Teamsters are refusing to make deliveries on through picket lines.
Yep. You gotta shut it down. You gotta shut it down.
Which is like, again, like, yeah, solidarity across labor groups is always crucial, especially within an industry. Which is why if the directors go ahead and approve this guild deal, it will be kind of some rat fuckery, but you know, directors are going to do that.
And that's the thing that where you get to too, is it's like, well, if the directors don't normally strike, but if they were to,
I think I read this morning that the Directors Guild since 1950 has been on strike for a grand total of 3 hours.
Yeah. Come on in, smoke a cigar. We'll make you feel a lot better. Have a scotch.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Same old story.
And then so now I think the actors go into negotiations in July, and the actors I think probably will go to a strike.
Yeah, good.
They also want like hard lines against AI that I don't think the studios are going to want to give them right now.
Good.
Because the studios have already started using like AI actor tools.
Yeah. Scary shit.
It is scary shit. But we will see. And then the last big news story, this was actually what I thought would be the big one today, was the Supreme Court issued a statement or issued a decision about the Alabama electoral maps.
In Alabama, okay. Not like that state's jerry-rigged at all.
No, well, exactly. Like there's 7 congressional districts in Alabama, and right now, under the current map they've been using, only one of those districts is majority black, even though a quarter of the state's population is black.
Yeah.
And their current map had been struck down by like a 3-person court, of which 3-person panel, of which 2 of those judges were appointed by Trump. So like that kind of shows you just how blatantly racist this map is. That like, you know, a Trump panel, a Federalist Society panel looked at it and was like, nah, you can't do this.
It's too blatantly racist.
Yeah, exactly. The Supreme Court ruled last year that like they couldn't strike it down before the 2022 election.
Oh, okay.
But then when they heard the full case, it was a 5-4 decision with John Roberts, who kind of hates the Voting Rights Act and has been working to like dismantle it for his entire tenure on the bench. And Brett Kavanaugh joined the liberals, saying that I think the map that they're going to go with would add another majority black district to the Alabama map. So presumably that gets Democrats, and so like in terms of like what's the political implications of this decision, it seems like there's going to be another Democratic seat out of Alabama. And then in Louisiana, I think there's like a pretty much identical case that would probably also add another majority black district in Louisiana.
So is this like a ruling that's kind of based off of like the ethnicity of the peoples there type of thing? Or is this more...
I think the actual legal principle that they've used is one that they kind of have been using since the 80s, which is like compactness, which is like there's basically looking at like the population distribution of Alabama beyond the one majority black district that they currently have. They've said, oh, look, there's another area here where if you're going by the same standards, you're drawing other districts in this state, this would also be a majority black district, but you use little lines to disperse that black population into other districts to make sure that there's not a second majority black district.
So like,
so that's explicitly racial discrimination.
To basically like split up any unit that would have been together.
Right, exactly. They made a concerted effort to disperse the black population in terms of representation.
Okay, so that's the argument. Now I'm trying to think of like now I'm taking this into Wisconsin and I'm thinking of like the Kenosha.
So Wisconsin is different because that's mostly just based on like partisan.
Yes.
It's Republican versus Democrat rather than like. I mean, you can make an argument that Kenosha and Racine should maybe just be two districts, and then you can separate Janesville and the rest of. But then again, like the thing about Kenosha is that I think they always prefer keeping counties together, and Kenosha County itself, because it includes Janesville and all those rural areas, is always going to be a majority Republican county.
Just because of is Janesville like an extra high population?
I don't know. I never really understood that, but like, yeah, the breakdown is usually, the breakdown is usually that like I think it's getting closer in recent years, but I think it is usually around 55% Republican.
Okay, like you mean like in Janesville, or is that like Kenosha's more specific?
No, Kenosha County.
Okay,
which is I think basically just the entire first district.
But the whole county, but the city, but like the city itself, the town of Kenosha, much more Democratic voting.
Yes, exactly.
But I imagine low turnouts is what throws that.
Yes, that's also a big thing, is low turnout.
Okay.
From actual Kenosha.
Okay, and that's an important factor, because like Janesville is like, I'm imagining it's like a population that's maybe a fifth of it, but everyone goes out there. Everyone's out there, right? Yeah. Because like this is like an old this is like Allegheny County or something, where it's like, well, there's Appleton, but then there's like all the surrounding areas around it and all the suburbs around it. Yeah,
exactly.
And that's all going red. That's all going red as fuck.
Right, but Allegheny County is Allegheny County is very much a swing district. It has recently become not when we were growing up there. When we were kids, it was always a Republican for sure. It was actually usually the uncle of someone I would go to school with, because I went to the Catholic school.
Yeah, no, I remember a sweet little St. Thomas More, the little like mock election they had of the 2000 election, and I remember like I was thinking like, oh, I'll vote for Gore.
Yeah.
To like having it blown out of the water in that Catholic school by like by like 30 points.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, that was Bush country for sure.
Where to get you fucks. I still need to get I think we need to get this for like a working wing thing. I mean, I'm not sure how you feel. I need to get one of those "I still hate George Bush" t-shirts. The longer it goes on, the more you still have one. I think you do.
I don't think I have it anymore. I think it got thrown out. It endured a lot. But yes, my senior year photo, which I had since I was like 13, was like "I still hate George Bush."
Yeah.
It was from Bush 1 making a joke about the fact that George Bush still sucked, and it's just gotten better and better.
It has. It really, especially with all of the forced rehabilitation like that.
Yes.
It is like that. That's the ultimate thing. I just want to keep it. You can like have your discussion of which is the worst president, but like for me, it's like if you need to have that burning hatred of the W of like really what he did.
Well, because we've had 2 of the worst 5 presidents in U.S. history within the past 20 years.
Oh God,
both Bush and Trump make that list for me.
Yeah.
Biden possibly as well.
Biden's in the top 5 for me. Like he's in the top 5 for me, man. Like I mean, and we'll see how he ends up with it. But I mean, granted, Biden's presidency, I'm pretty much willing to add up to say like, no, this is the security state. This is like he's like a puppet on strings. Like he's doing whatever his masters tell him. Like it's.
But, I mean, that's always who he's been, right?
Yes.
Yes. I feel similarly about Obama. He was never truly at the helm.
Although he was a lot better at just because I remember even back in the day when you were critical of him, I was so reactionary just to like wanting to defend him based on all of the like bullshit racism and like the bad faith takes that were on him, which were completely unfair, but it gave really good smokescreen to valid criticisms that you had itself about like how like light on Wall Street he was. Essentially, like Chris Hedges is a person who said like, well, like Obama's essentially was a black mascot for Wall Street. That's all he really served to do.
That's all he really was, and the insurance industry.
Yes.
And he literally inherited a political position that only one other person in U.S. history had, which was FDR.
Yeah.
And it's like, look at what FDR accomplished in his first 100 days with a supermajority in Congress versus what Obama did. Yeah. And Obama started from a Republican healthcare proposal when he had all the leverage.
Yep. Well,
it was just truly one of the stupidest political moves in U.S. history.
I mean, shit. We voted for Obama because we didn't want Mitt Romney. We didn't want Mitt Romney care, and we still got Romney care.
Well, it was John McCain the first time.
Well, no, I meant in 2012. I couldn't vote. I couldn't vote for. You could vote for Obama in 2008. I could not. But
and I did vote for Obama in 2008.
Oh yeah, and that's a lot.
Because it was change that we could believe in. It was a cultural moment, kind of like unlike any other I've had in my life.
It's too bad that it was,
especially because I was a freshman in college that year, and it's just like that. That was a heady time.
Yeah. Well, for me, and it was a different vibe in there. It is a little sad that it was totally co-opted and like it was like very astroturfed and manufactured. But granted, it was very different. Like I would have loved to have voted for Obama in that time than the 2012 election where I just got served in 2010 when we fucking had Scott Walker in there. We couldn't get him out. We couldn't get him out with the recalls. It was a politically like destitute time where I felt like I was one of the only people paying attention to politics in my generation, in my closely associated generation. So it was discouraging, but granted, it still got that fire lit up with me. People would, by the time I was going to college, they didn't care about George Bush anymore.
It kind of Mitt Romney set the table for Donald Trump, because I don't know how much you remember that 2012 election cycle. That was also when like Occupy Wall Street was going on.
Yeah.
But like that 2012 Republican primary was just a parade of crazies. Like every single crazy under the sun had their time in the spotlight, while Mitt Romney was just kind of hovering.
Mitt Romney was like Joe Biden in like my opinion.
He really was. He was just the inevitable establishment candidate.
Yeah.
And like when Donald Trump was running in 2016, I think everyone, especially in the media, kind of thought that it was the same. Like everyone had so much fun and got so much ratings and clicks covering the cavalcade of crazies in 2012. They were like, "Oh, great, we can cash in on this Donald Trump guy and get all the headlines." And then soon enough, Mike Pence or Mitt Romney again will take the nomination, and that just did not happen.
There was a very good reason, and it was very intentional, that CNN would cover an empty podium where Trump was going to speak for 3 hours while Bernie Sanders was giving a rally with 50,000 people there. Like, it's, there's a very
yeah, no, he was ratings gold,
right.
Yeah.
And even to the point of like detriment of like actually trying to get like ratings on someone else who could change things, trying to actually have like any support of anything else like that. And I know it's.
I know Jon Stewart has tried to rewrite history on this, but Jon Stewart was like very much in on that rush. Before Donald Trump declared, he was salivating at what Donald Trump would do for late night comedy. And then he took a sabbatical during the entire time Trump was like actually a thing on the national level.
Yeah,
and then came back. And then came back to wag his fingers at everyone for giving Trump attention. And it's well, yes, John, but like you were.
No, I see your point, Tim. I see your point about like him. I still think with Jon Stewart, I'd say he was probably joking. I still think he's like joking. Would be like, yeah, it wouldn't be hilarious, like not thinking it's gonna happen. Like
it was hilarious. Like late night comedy writers had the easiest job in the world when Donald Trump was a candidate and then president, because you just surf CNN for 3 minutes and you've got your nightly monologue.
I think it's kind of funny because I think like a lot of that late night comedy started dying as like he was president, because what I started realizing is that like, well, the material is just right in front of me. Like it's like, bro, like,
that's true. You could read CNN every day and just write the jokes yourself.
No, seriously, like true. Seriously, or I'll just watch. I could watch Fox News and just start laughing, like just the shit that they're just trying to like promote there. Like, oh, this is great. This part is awesome. Like, it's like, well, yeah, there's plenty to laugh at in that regard. But
yes, I mean, I was arguing with our friend Kenny about that. I think the inherent humor of Donald Trump has kind of gotten played out, though.
Oh, I disagree. I still think he's fucking hilarious. No, dude, I seriously do. Like, just even looking back, if you just look back at the tweets, just beginning.
Oh yeah, no, you can. I mean, yeah. Well, like again, yes, you can like go watch. You can go watch like old Dave Chappelle or like Chris Rock specials and be like, yes, that was really funny and really edgy. But now that they're middle-aged millionaires, a lot of their stuff has lost the edge that really defined them.
Well, no, but the thing is about Trump is it's kind of like one of those like internet reality shows where it's like you're watching someone like have like the authentic mental breakdown like in front of you, but like it's like the president of the United States. It's like to me, I like the mask being off too. I also like how animated that like even the fake leftists get. Because with Joe Biden, they're just like, everything's fine. I'm going to vote for him again, which is to me is like a total abdication of power. It is an irresponsible abdication of power just to say that, well, I'm going to do my part. And I was arguing with a friend last week about this, about like, you can't just say I'm voting for this person. I don't support them though. It's like, well, but you're giving them the keys to the castle. Like you're giving them the scepter. It's here you go. Like, it's like, I would say the same thing. It's like, if Tim, if I voted for Donald Trump and said I wasn't supporting him, you would give me an earful about like, well, yeah, sure. Like, right. And I would deserve it because it's true, because I am.
I mean, that's why I'm voting for Afro Man.
That's it. That's it. Hey, I'll vote for Afro Man more than I would Cornel West, unfortunately, right now. Sorry, People's Party, but you're not even a fucking party. So,
well, and that's the thing. It's like you and I have talked about this, I think, a little bit, but like my frustration with like the Green Party, the People's Party, all these is that you only see them in national elections when they have zero chance to of getting any power, because like the goal of like the Green Party leadership isn't to gain power or make any kind of change. It's to generate headlines and fundraising and make money for themselves.
Yeah.
If they actually wanted to make change, you would see Green Party candidates running in local elections or state elections,
which
where they actually have a chance in hell of winning, which they will never do in a national election.
Well, they do sometimes, and even if they were serious about about getting the 5% in the national election, because that's to me is like if you're a third party, that's your goal in any cycle is to get the 5%. Is to offer that alternative, because other than that, if you're not trying to get the 5%,
yeah, but even then, like in our system, yeah, I mean, in our like in Europe, that 5% I think means a lot more than it does here, because they actually have like power sharing governments. Like if you get 5% in Europe and you can like actually like make a difference in which party takes control, you can broker a power sharing arrangement. You know, you can get a seat in the cabinet or what have you. That's not a thing here.
Well, Tim, it's not because
You're never going to see like a Green Party
issue. We're not forcing that type of issue either, Tim. That's the thing, is that like it's based the type of system where we're saying that like, well, we're fine with this and we're not going to do anything to change it, and that's why nothing has changed. That's exactly why nothing has changed. Because there's no one willing to actually try this out. Because every time there is a third party that's jumping in there, it's like it's the book deal scam. It's Robert Kennedy. It's Marianne Williamson. They're not fucking serious. It's especially running as Democrats. It's like, well, you're just trying to get publicity, and that is it. You're not even trying to raise the issue. I've seen Robert Kennedy like flip flop on Palestine like that as soon as he got a little bit of pressure. I'm like, okay, so like that's how quick you're gonna fucking buckle. Okay,
oh,
so
yeah.
yeah. So I'm like, no problem. You go sell your book, Bobby. Like you go sell your shit. Like good fucking luck with that. But the point is of just getting the 5% is just like, well, then you're actually at like the federal funding level. You're actually going to be on the debate stage the next cycle. Like you're actually a factor where it affects the election for the Republicans against the Republicans or Democrats, vice versa. You start fucking with their politics. And then there's another side angle that they have to look at. And guess what? Those independents that are actually like the people who are switching into that or voting third party, they actually have a little bit more political leverage than those who have pledged their votes to one or the other party. Like they're willing to be traitors. They're willing to be flip-floppers. And I think more Americans need to be willing to do that because we're so, and I think we were talking about this last week. I think we're so traumatized about like what anyone's gonna like, what the other side's gonna do, because that's most of the justification for any person who voted for Trump and I was talking to is willing to talk to me. They end up just saying that like, well, yeah, like I don't like all these things about Trump, but Joe Biden's so horrible that I have to vote for this. I have to vote for him even though he's a piece of shit. And then I talk to Democrats who say the same thing about Joe Biden. And it's
no one really likes either of the two main candidates. That's definitely a thing.
So, but everyone's too afraid. Everyone keeps thinking that their one vote is going to be so significant if it does not go to like the candidate that the other bad guy's going to win, and that's going to end the country, which it isn't, because both of these candidates are going to do essentially the same thing. In my opinion, the Democrat can actually pass more heinous shit with less resistance from the people. That's what I've noticed personally. I've noticed that the Republicans tend to like be able to pass more shit legally, and there's a lot more resistance from the people. But when Democrats will be able to pass some of the shit that the Republicans weren't able to get away with, like Romney Care for an example, or NAFTA with Bill Clinton. Like yes. the things that the Bushes weren't able to get away with at all. But since it's a Democrat, it's no big deal. Like if George Bush had like bombed Syria, like after all the Iraq shit, oh my God, like it's like I'd be on the fucking street. Fucking Obama does it. Nothing. Crickets.
Yeah.
We had Dem in the office. Like anti-war goes out the fucking window. The kids in cages in the detention centers.
Obama did build those cages.
And then Trump continues it, and then Biden stops it for a temporary period, starts it up again.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Yeah. The IRA is like a bigger extension of corporate welfare than like anything that the Republicans got done.
And that's what's so funny to me is it's just like people who have very good intentions. They are so motivated by their fear that they go against their own interests. That they start saying that, like, yeah, my eyes and ears don't work. They start having to rationalize that, yeah, like they're all rapists, but like, I'm doing my part for good. It's they start practicing cognitive dissonance to just try to separate themselves from what they're actually doing with it.
Yeah,
But
no, absolutely.
sorry, I'm
That's,
going.
no. Like you're absolutely right. And like, I mean, we have left any kind of semblance of our points of our original topics behind. But like, this is the system that we live in, right?
Yeah.
And like the Supreme Court decision might shift like 2 seats, and that might actually like make a huge difference
In Alabama, it might.
well, Alabama and Louisiana, like those 2 seats might actually be critical in which party takes control. But then again, does that actually matter?
Yeah. Well, and I think that this is like another thing. I think I've been thinking about how people kind of think it's short term lately with politics. Like they're very concerned, like, well, it's not going to do anything for this election, but that could be the start of a stronghold. I mean, it's whatever you make it out to be. If you treat it like it's like a nothing win, and you let Republicans take control.
No, it is a win. Like,
Yeah.
you're right. I don't want to downplay like the rare good Supreme Court decisions that we do get.
I'm not going to praise them for it, but yeah, no, it is a good thing. It's an opening. It is an opening.
Yeah, for sure.
And because I haven't said anything really that communist this whole show, to quote Lenin, if the strategies change within 24 hours, the tactics must also change within 24 hours. So, yeah, adapt to the situation that what we're given.
Hold on, let me Google a Mikhail Buchanan code real quick.
There you go. Yeah, but just point being that yes, we need to kind of roll with the punches and take the victory. Like whatever victory you take, you have to like kind of roll that momentum into it. That's good. And hey, I'm all up for, one of my favorite things, one of my favorite channels on TikTok is to watch like see, it's the thing, I don't like Democrats, but it's like I will watch like state legislature being passed in like Texas, and it'll just be like a person from Houston, which is like tends to be more blue district in Texas, and he'll just be asking a question that's just like, I'm just trying to understand what the wording of this bill is, and the Texas Republicans are just like doing the same old to protect our rights. Protect our rights. Don't California my Texas. Okay, but I'm just trying to understand, are you infringing as a state the rights upon like city council members or mayors to enact laws in their state? It's like, we're doing this to protect our rights. Okay, but like I'm asking, are you infringing upon their rights to do this? And like she kept asking, like coming at him like he was being disrespectful or he was trying to like catch her in a gotcha. And he was like, I'm not trying to catch you in a gotcha. I'm just trying to understand the legal ramifications. Like we haven't had like a mayoral district like ban any of these guns, right? That's never happened. Okay, so we're passing this law for no reason, right? Like for no reason. Like,
all right, let me hit you with the relevant Mikhail Buchanan quote that I just found.
All right.
Representative government is a system of hypocrisy and perpetual falsehood. Its success rests on the stupidity of the people and the corruption of the public mind.
Hey, there's some knowledge for you there.
Actually, I found this quote on Goodreads, and then the first person, so it shows friends who like this quote, and then under that is all members. But the first person on there is a person named Killian. So I thought that you would actually like this quote on Goodreads, but I don't think you're even on Goodreads, are you?
Probably not. I'm not commenting on anything on there when I've been there. So
yeah, I mean, I haven't used Goodreads in a very long time, but because Amazon has fucked that site into oblivion.
Yeah,
left its dying corpse lying around.
Corruption of the public mind, don't you see?
Corruption of the public mind.
You must go to Amazon and buy these things because it is just so fucking convenient. You could go down to the grocery store and buy that international soda, or you could order it from.
And the thing is I work at Amazon and I know how shitty it is, but I still do that shit.
Yeah.
Like last weekend, I couldn't find individual cans of like green chilies that I needed for some enchiladas I was making at any of the grocery stores around here. But Amazon was able to get me a 12-pack of those cans in like 4 hours.
before any of the stores were open, probably.
I mean, like, no, I went to Walmart at 8 a.m., saw they didn't have it. Woodman's didn't
Christ.
have it the previous night. So I ordered it at 8 a.m. and it showed up at my house at like 2 p.m.
They're buying out all the chili cans,
They
Tim.
are. They are. They are. They got the market cornered on the chilies.
They really do.
But yeah, like that kind of shit. It's like it's insidious, right? Like, yeah, the convenience itself is the trap.
It is. It is. It's a strong economic force that like will definitely keep affecting people for all this shit. I mean, granted, it's like if gas prices rise to $8 and the president's like, dude, if we don't invade Canada, you're going to be seeing $10 a gallon. I bet you Americans will be lining up to go to war.
Sorry, Canada. I mean, really, like, it's kind of crazy that we haven't already taken over Canada at some point, in my opinion.
It'll happen. The Fallout timeline will happen eventually. Like it's so someone even more like fascistic than Trump is gonna like pop in and like they're gonna like poke their head and like just say
and I guess it would be it would be energy supplies, or it would be combating prescription drug prices or something.
Like, we need to keep these drug prices high, Canada. We need
exactly. I mean, we have invaded countries on behalf of corporations before. See our entire history in like the Caribbean.
See Doyle or
the Dole Corporation
or Chiquita Banana. Or,
exactly.
For as much as Eisenhower wanted to talk about hating the military-industrial complex, he sure did like to fucking use it for corporations.
Did we want to talk about Succession at all? Did we have anything really to say?
Well, I only had like a couple of like post-show questions. Like that was it. Like,
yeah. What are your post-show questions?
Well, one I was
we've had some time now to think about the finale.
Right.
As opposed to last time where we recorded like literally hours after the finale aired.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was thinking, well, initially at first, like watching it, and it's like, this is a pretty obvious question. What do you think happens to Kendall after this series?
I was thinking about this just like a couple hours ago as I got off of work. Yeah, I think Kendall's going to be all right. I really do. Like, I know I have not seen that take from many people, but like while we were talking last time, I kind of came to my own interpretation of that ending, where like Kendall is sitting there watching the water, because like every other time we've seen Kendall in water, he's either like floating triumphantly or drowning in it.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's like separate from the water. And if you see water as like his relationship with, you know, the quote unquote business, his father's legacy, whatever, the huge, you know, satchel of baggage that Kendall always carries on his back.
Yeah.
I think that burden is down. I think he's out of the thick of it. I think he can actually be a person now, is my interpretation.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Tim, is I'm thinking he probably like is not going to live much of an existence. I think that like in terms of his happiness, I think in terms of like anything he's going to achieve in his life, I think that like he practically is dead.
I don't think he's going to achieve anything, but like, I mean, he's still a billionaire. He's a multi-billionaire. He'll never like want for anything. He'll never have a day of like discomfort in his entire life. And I don't know, maybe he could go talk to his kids at some point.
I kind of think back to his big birthday episode, his like 40th birthday episode breakdown, where essentially it is like that type of thing where it's like, well, no, I'm living my life and doing my own thing and doing this shit separate from my family. Granted, he's at war with his family, but
right. I mean, that's kind of my point. It's like his birthday episode happens while he's like in the thick of like trying to fight his dad and
his siblings.
But, yeah.
But I think my point about that is that like he, in that episode, he was isolated from his family, like his kids, Rava, and like his siblings and all of that, which I think he's in that position today. Is like his siblings not talking.
I think he and Roman are talking within a couple months tops. I think he and Shiv, it'll take longer, but like,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think Roman really felt betrayed by him lying about, like, or him saying he's lying about killing the kid. I think he was a person that takes that type of stuff where his siblings are honest with him. Actually, I think he's the type of person who takes that very seriously because it so rarely happens. And to have Kendall just like come out and say, no, that was a move, whether or not like, and with obviously we know it like wasn't like that was a move to him just to lie. But just to have it either way, where it's either you believe Kendall or you don't, he's like seen as like he's a liar and he's untrustworthy, and he'll lie to you about where he's at. And any of those honest sibling moments that they have that are so rare that like I imagine if like everything's so disingenuous and if you're in that family that when something genuine like that does happen.
But Roman is also a liar and disingenuous and lies to his family anytime it's convenient. So I feel like they can have a couple months to cool off and then they can come together to hang out on a yacht together.
But Rome won't. But here's the thing: Rome will be honest about like the real shit. Like he'll be honest about like you kept me in a cage. Like I was in a fucking cage. I'm not lying. I'm not lying about this. And which Takan had to correct the memory of going, no, he wanted to go. He wanted to be punished. It was fun to him. Like he wanted to go in that cage. And I don't necessarily think he was lying. I think that's just how he remembers it. And like, he tries to, I just think he's the type of person that like takes that type of honesty, that type of connection you have with your family, especially within the conditions that it's in. He takes that type of thing very seriously. So I don't think that Ken is going to be talking to his siblings very much in the future, or certainly not in the past. I think that.
No, I don't think he'll talk to Shiv for a long time.
Yeah. I think Meal Fit for a King is like probably one of the last happy memories they're going to have together.
I mean, that's all very bleak.
It is. No, it is. And this is just only the way that I perceive this based on how Jeremy Strong played it. Because like when I look at him at the end, there is like I look at a man who is like broken. It's like, yeah, I know he has millions. I know it, but Kendall's
billions.
Yeah, and he's got billions. But like it's like how Kendall told Madison. It's like I'm already rich. Like I don't like it's like he's already lived that. That's not like what his goal.
No,
was
I definitely see that. But I don't know. To me, I think the idea of success, like the title of the show itself, was the most toxic thing in the entire show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I really feel like the idea of who got to take control of that company was such a bad thing in the lives of all of these characters.
And ultimately,
except Tom, really.
Kind
of, but I feel like Tom's gonna be fine. I feel like all right. That that's my big thing is like the one thing I disagree with a lot of the critics about is like this idea that like, oh, Tom didn't really win though, or like Tom's not going to be happy, and it's like I think Tom's going to be perfectly happy.
You might.
I really do. I don't think Tom has any complaints about where he's at in life.
Yeah, not at that moment. I mean, but that's the thing. More writing would like really tell that story.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like yeah, if they were going to do another season, Tom would be the most interesting character.
Like I think for sure that like Madsen's going to be fucking shit. Like, well, Shiv's probably going to be running the Madsen to fuck him. Like, I think that I see that completely. And like Tom's just going to put up with it and maybe get divorced at some point. But I'm not entirely sure.
I still think that a lot of that, like Madsen telling Tom that I want to fuck your wife. I mean, I'm sure he does want to fuck Shiv, but like, I think the reason he said that in that scene was as like an emotional test of Tom.
How much shit do you eat?
How much shit will you eat? Yeah. Will you let me fuck your wife? Yeah. Will you go along with me talking about how badly I want to fuck your wife?
Yeah. I interpreted it as serious too, because like he definitely had.
I mean, they definitely had some chemistry, but
right.
Like,
and Shiv was doing that to get what she wanted. But I think that like would probably going forward in their relationship would probably be a factor. I mean, granted, Tom is still. I see Tom is still going to be getting cut. Tom's not getting fully what he wants because he wants that honest relationship with Shiv. He wants that, but he doesn't know if he can trust her. That's what I think that like you want a shot at an honest relationship, and he tells her, I don't know. I think that's honestly like he doesn't know if he can trust her.
But he puts the hand out to her in their car at the end now.
Yeah, no, and I kind of saw that as like are you down for this? And she's like halfway and half. like the very Shiv way where she's like got one foot in. Like
I listened to an interview. Yeah, Shiv is interesting. I listened to an interview with like Jesse Armstrong a couple days ago, and one interesting thing he was talking about was Shiv's motivations, and he said to him in that moment, one of those things was just like a sense of revulsion at the idea of Kendall winning. Was like, I mean, yes, she knew that he would be bad for the company, but she's always known that. But like in the moment, it was just no, Kendall wins. Nah, fuck that. Like, and I guess like I think that is interesting that that's what he saw as her major motivation.
Yeah. Well, and it kind of plays into like that poison dripping through thing, because it's like she essentially just did what Logan had been doing to Kendall forever too, of saying in closed doors, yes, you got it. You're my number one boy. You got this. I'm going to support you. And then when it came down to chow time, it's sweep the rug from under, which is like which is why I can. The acting, that last scene is so great where because Kendall's so completely like taken aback and just motivated by like, no, you said it, like we agreed, this was the fucking plan, and like we're gonna do this, like, so what the fuck. Like you're gonna fuck me now, and that's how I say like that. All those irrational arguments he was making at that point was just his defense mechanism to just going like, no, I need to fight and claw for this. I need to.
Yeah, I guess like with the Tom thing, I guess what really knocks me is like the idea, and it's always like a certain class of television critic who are just like, no, see, Madsen's the one really in charge. Tom will just have to do everything Madsen was saying, and therefore he couldn't have really won. And it's like, yeah, again, like no, not everyone can be like a freelance media critic. You know, most people in the country do work for some asshole that they have to do everything he says. I don't think that's like
some asshole. Yeah, but do you get paid millions of dollars?
Right, exactly. Like Tom is just fine, I think. In my book.
Yeah, dude. He's going to be just fine. Like
he is a middle class driver who has like reached the top of the mountain by hook or by crook.
I don't think any of these characters are emotionally going to be in a good place. Like I really don't. I mean, I think like financially, yeah, they're set, but I think that this is one of those series where like they're kind of stoic. Like, well, no, they're not stoic. They're just it's not flat. It's they don't really change that much from where they had.
Which is yeah. I think critics have all pretty much lavish universal praise on the ending of the show, which I think you and I share. But I think the biggest criticism I saw from like fans on Reddit right after the finale was like, oh well, everyone is exactly in the same spot that they were at the start of the show. Nothing changed.
Yeah, their personalities are, I'd say.
Yeah, exactly. And like I think Jesse talked about that too. In this interview of like he thinks that it's actually pretty rare for people to change, and that it's even more rare for people to change for the better.
Yep. I think that's it's a cynical
kind of oblique. Yeah, it's a cynical view, but like it's hard to really say he's wrong, right? Like,
well, we have to think about what kind of people can change, but it's like what kind of struggle makes a person change, like
which is kind of right. Well, like especially when you're in the same environment, can you change? Which is honestly why I think there's room for optimism for Kendall and Roman, because like they are out of the environment that like led them in this like cyclical shittiness that we had been seeing for 4 seasons, and now they're out of that environment.
Tim, you have a point. And I was also thinking about something else too, because even the way I'm still kind of viewing it, I'm still viewing it as Rome's going to be upset with his brother. However, I just thought of something, and it kind of goes against. It goes more with like how Roman won't change. But I was just thinking about like how Roman would always go back to the abuser no matter what. He was the king of
Yeah.
Stockholm Syndrome.
In a very weird, twisted way, Roman's love language is abuse.
Yes.
Because like again, like he was like, you put me in a cage, and Khan's being like, no, dude, you wanted to be in the cage because like you just wanted attention, and us hurting you and abusing you was like the main way you got attention.
Yeah. Or like or him going out to like go fight in the middle of the street.
Yeah, exactly. Just to feel something, or
because he fucked up the funeral procession. Well, the funeral speech so bad, but so in that term, it's like I don't think Rome's gonna like change it there, and so in that sense, like he might go back to Kendall and see what's up.
Right, I feel like going back to people who hurt him is kind of his game.
Like especially because like I've watched videos on too about like watch a little like sort of thing about Connor too, because another very. We still want to have that. So we might have to write the miniseries between him and Willa in Slovenia or like when it gets switched around 4 times and he ends up going to, or, him trying to run again against the Democrat and trying to get
just any kind of political comedy starring Connor Roy.
That I am
inject it right into my veins.
But I was kind of thinking about too, it's like, well, Connor was always like, he was always trying to play that older brother role. Like when he mentioned, I'm thinking back at like the second season when they're talking about going camping and like Rome right away, like throws Connor in the bus and is like, well, you shit in a sleeping bag and stuff. And like Connor had to kind of like be like, what the fuck, dude? It's like, I fucking shit in a sleeping bag because I fucking took you out camping when dad wouldn't do it. It's like, and you're going to be like, you're just going to abuse me like this. I'm actually trying to look out for you. Which is fun because I definitely would see Connor as like that's Uncle Crazy. I'll go over to Uncle Libertarian's house and like, we'll go shoot guns in the desert or something, like whatever Connor's doing. But
Connor still has that like desert compound with like water rights, right?
Yeah, as far as I know,
like,
unless you sold that for Logan's apartment. But
that might, but like, I think in the first episode we see him bragging about that, right? Like that once global warming claims the western coastline, he'll have beachfront property.
Yeah. So his house is going to get raided within the first year if he doesn't hire mercenaries, which those prices are going to go up when that happens. So
he's got billions.
Yeah, I mean, until someone shoots him in the head for it. I mean,
all right, well, now we're writing post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, how much is billions gonna be worth when it's like inflation has like done what it did like since pre-World War II Germany? Like, it's
right. But the thing is, gold is also going to be valueless as well in a post-apocalyptic economy.
Well, I mean, it's not going to be, it's not going to be valueless. Water and oil.
Water,
oil,
water, gasoline, ammunition,
all that's going to be very valuable. All that currency is going to go way up. Apple stock will go down, unfortunately. So you might as well sell. Sell now.
Well, you're an Apple boy, Killian. Are you gonna pony up for this fucking $3,500 visual display that they're gonna sell?
Fuck no. Fuck no. I don't even. I'll be honest with you about VR. I am not. I played like the Resident Evil on VR, and I have to admit, like, okay, like you're holding like the gun with that, and like you're like loading it and stuff. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I don't like it because like I get like a migraine.
Yeah, no, my nephew saved up for months to be able to buy a Quest headset, and it gave him headaches. He hasn't really been able to play it much.
Well, that's the thing. I'll play it like if I play it for like 10-15 minutes, like I take it off and I'm just like, whew, I'm sweating. My sense of balance is off. It's like I don't really enjoy it. Like I'd much rather just like binge in like a Sid Meier's Civ game or like play Smite or something. It's like something I can
Me
really
too.
like,
Yeah,
binge
they
in.
need to work out. Yeah, the headaches. A lot of people get vertigo.
Yeah.
Where like they feel like they're like spinning.
It kind of reminds me of the Visual Boy. You know what the Visual Boy is? Yeah.
I've heard of the Visual Boy. I've seen YouTube clips about it.
Yeah, it's an abomination to the one viewer or bot watching this. It's an abomination that Nintendo made in the 90s. That was supposed to be a portable Game Boy, but like it had like a headset, and it's only two colors it featured were black and red. So it's Antifa's system basically, but like,
yes.
much like Antifa, it isolated people, and not many people were into it. So there you are.
Yeah.
But I mean, but granted, there is a fun little game on there called Swords and Sorcery, but that's about the limit of it. You're like in a gladiator thing, and you can like slice with the sword, but it's way more effective to just stab. It's the whole thing just needs to kind of just be worked on. And honestly, the games where they port over older games like Skyrim or like Resident Evil 4 or something, like those tend to be a little bit more manageable. But it's only fun if it's like your first person or something. And Resident Evil was good because it was way more terrifying.
Yeah, I've heard good things about Resident Evil 4 VR.
Yeah, no, that's much more terrifying. The game was much harder. So I was freaking out. But other than that, well, yeah, and other than that, I'm not sure what shows we got the engine. We could talk about Barry, but we can
I was gonna say Barry was another really interesting finale that happened the same night. Did you watch? So you watched the Barry finale?
Oh hell yeah, I did. Hell yeah, I did. I love that show from the start too.
Okay, you love the show from the start. How did the ending treat you?
The thing is, it was anticlimactic, but it fit.
Yeah,
it fit for what it was.
I had me and our friend Kenny had literally like an hour-long argument a couple days after the Barry finale. Well, like he was like his whole point was the show was called Barry. Show wasn't called Fuchs, wasn't called NoHo Hank. It was called Barry, and so he wanted more Barry in the finale of Barry. And like I feel like Bill Hader was I think he was deliberately subverting audience expectations. He was like playing with the tropes of like the anti-hero drama.
Yes.
In a big way.
Yes.
In a way that he wasn't at the start, I don't think. It started much more as like a lampooning of Hollywood culture.
Yes. And honestly, I still have to say, like the first two seasons are probably the strongest for me in terms of Barry. And it's not to say like the fourth season was bad. It's just that it was
weird. It was weird. It felt kind of disjointed with like the sudden flash forward that like honestly I'm not sure how many people even realized was a flash forward.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you only realize it with all the future tech shit, but that's
but like at the end of the episode where they flash forward and you see like a little kid and you come back to like Barry, there have been so many weird visions and stuff like that like I know me and my roommate watched it live, the night it came out, and we were like, okay, maybe this is a flash forward, or maybe this is like a Barry hallucination about his perfect future life with Sally.
Yeah.
And then our friend Kenny watched it a couple weeks after that, and he had no idea that it was like he straight up did not think it was a flash forward.
Yeah, I can see it. It's yeah.
And that first flash forward episode is like one of the funniest episodes of Barry, I think, since like the first couple seasons.
What are you referring to? Like with the kid fighting, or?
It's the first episode where he like the episode where he's like watching stuff about Abraham Lincoln and Gandhi and just coming up with like shit takes and stuff like that.
I remember it. I remember watching that and thinking that Tim's probably.
I've been quoting it ever since. Is like Abe Lincoln got 15,000 men killed at Shenandoah. Gandhi, took medicine after denying it to his mouth. tricky legacies. Like I want like Bill Hader delivering the line tricky legacies. That's something I think I'll be quoting for a long time.
I'll be quoting it too. As soon as we're arguing about Stalin again, I'm gonna throw that quote out.
No, it's something like like ever since I was studying history in college, I think I've been like, you and I have been talking about how like any historical figure you care to name, you can find their tricky legacies.
Even your faves, everybody.
Even your faves, and like I do like the final few. The way it ended with like the fucking stupid over the top adaptation that just like completely glamorizes and romanticizes Barry of like
I was dying laughing during that
Bill
part.
Hader, but it's like the fact that it's like his old improv classmate playing him is so funny.
Yeah. And the dude just looks fucking. I mean, it's funny because like whenever I've watched Barry, I've always like watched, especially in, like the first season when he's like when like him and that Marine are like raiding the thing. I'm looking at Bill Hader and I'm like, he's not a fucking Marine. Like that other jacked bald dude is like, I can see that. And of course, like his old improv partner is like Gord. The like fucking Jack Ryan looking guy. Like, it's like ready to go. Fucking, he's got like the 5 o'clock shadow. Like. The narrative that they were using to.
Well, yeah, no, and like that's the thing of like.
Maybe think of the Elvis.
Bill Hader, Bill Hader has always gone out of his way to make sure that Barry is not a glamorous character. Because, like you said, he's not a jacked, brooding anti-hero guy. He's a fucking like nerdy psychopath who's really good at killing people, and that's who he was in the Marines. And like, he's a shitty actor, like. And I like the way it ended for that, and then the statement of like, no, sometimes Hollywood and the Hollywood machine just won't let you have a like shitty, awkward little psychopath murderer be your legacy.
They do tend to glorify this shit. Like that's why I hate that Dahmer series. It's like, well,
no,
exactly. Like, you guys do end up just glorifying these fucking horrible people and like dragging it over the victims of the families. And that's like, well, fuck you guys for that. Like you're trying to make a profit just to like get people in on it because they see like the blood and tits and gore.
Yeah.
And, it's a cheap thrill. It's a cheap thrill, really. It's cheap thrills. But no, I think Bill Hader was he was astute to just like stay on all that and kind of make commentary about it. But the fourth season, I do feel like was overall like a messier season. Like they were they were doing shit that like, I mean, granted it's Barry. It's like, there's parts of this that are like completely unbelievable. Like the part in the third season when they're like driving through traffic and like having like a full on firefight in like LA, like standstill traffic and no one's like running out of their car or anything. It's kind of like, okay, so this is like almost surreal. Like,
yeah, no, actually, like that was like Kenny who just moved back from LA was watching that scene. He was like, "You ain't ever gonna see the fucking highway that empty at that time of day. Like, the fuck you talking about?" Right. The fact that you can even move a motorcycle at those speeds down the highway at that time of day is inherently fantastic.
Well, yeah, he was probably saying like, yeah, some motherfucker would have pulled out to the left and like that guy would have been like flipped over the car and dead.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't wait till he watches I can't wait till what he thinks about the end of Better Call Saul, because I think he might be pissed off at the ending, but he might not be. But it's one of those interesting things.
That's like, kind of a trend, right? Where like all these dramas are like bending over back, like not bending over backwards, because I feel like in both Barry and Succession, they've kind of gone out of their way to not do the typical anti-hero.
Yeah.
Well, like Succession, I think, was more reacting to like Mad Men and stuff like that. But like. Good no, like the rich people aren't actually good, and like the awkward psychopath murderer isn't actually like cool in the end. And that's kind of like, yeah.
And it's funny because I feel like Better Call Saul was trying to kind of have that reaction to Breaking Bad, because at the end of Breaking Bad, it's like I remember talking about it with friends and like we were kind of like, yeah, he won, man, and we were kind of thinking that like Walter White's like fucking awesome.
Walter White, Yeah, he did a bunch of bad shit, but he went out his way. You know?
Like, yeah,
saved Jesse.
It was
the end of things on his terms.
Right. Like it's like the Conan the Barbarian, libertarian warrior type of fucking trope that's there. But in Better Call Saul, it was like the person, like the big point of redemption is that he takes accountability for everything he did and ruins the rest of his life, but he's happy because he's content with it. Well, other people were going like, well, you fucking had it made. You could have gotten away with it. And that's not the point of the theme of the story. And plus, watching Better Call Saul, I really felt at the end, I'm like, well, Walter is like the complete fucking psycho. Like it's like, and I just don't know if it's just because like, I was watching like, during Breaking Bad, it's like, well, Better Call Saul is like, what do you expect? A sleazeball lawyer who like, will bend whatever which ways the wind's blowing. But like at the end of that series, I still felt at the end of Better Call Saul, I still felt myself sympathizing way more for Jimmy. Like I still at the end feeling that like he was put down this road by his brother and like reacting that way. Not all because of his brother. He's got responsibility in this too, but partially his brother was encouraging, was fanning this fire unknowingly. Or no.
Yeah.
But no, like it's them kind of pulling these in. I feel like it is like writers trying to like correct either way they may have gone wrong or what they wish they would have changed. And
it makes you kind of feel like we might be at the end of a whole big cycle of like peak TV.
Yeah.
Especially with like, I mean, that kind of ties into like the writer's strike and like the kind of how a lot of these streaming models have failed. And so it seems like the way entertainment has been, pushed to us for the past, like going on 10 years now is going to have to change. Yeah. But anyways,
bring back LimeWire, everybody. Bring back file sharing for the win. Come on, Libertarian Court. It's like file sharing for the win. Okay, guys, we have the right to share it. All right. Let's protect the right of the real individuals.
Killian, they are a libertarian court, and what libertarianism is actually just corporations have absolute rights. So we do have a libertarian court, but that just means that they are going to shunt as much power and legal heft to corporations as possible.
Yeah, Tim, I'm trying to get at that, but I'm trying to like get the libertarians who don't read anything or don't like listen to anything.
Sorry.
Right. I'm trying to engage with those people who aren't watching, and because I know the courts aren't listening. Even if I agreed with them, they wouldn't be listening. But those libertarian fucks who aren't scared off by my logo, which I actually, if they click on our logo and they're scared off by it, then great. You clicked on something you were afraid of. Good for you. Red salute, everybody. Remember,
red salute.
Brought to you by Rigor Mortis.
All right. So yes, it's been a good. I've enjoyed this conversation. It's been very rambling and far-ranging, but I think that's just the ticket sometimes.
It is the ticket sometimes. We just had to kind of get on, talk about the news, kind of get back in the groove of it. I was on vacation last weekend. And, revamping things a little bit.
Speaking of getting back into the groove, should we announce? Are we going to do West Wing starting next week? Do some West Wing coverage. Are you down for that? Putting you on the spot here because we haven't talked about this.
Yeah, we haven't.
I mean, we've talked a little bit about it. But,
let's talk about it a little bit after the show. We'll get to it.
We'll definitely be back next week.
We'll be back to talk about the news, even if nothing's happening, and if not, we'll definitely have some media analysis for you.
Yes,
absolutely. To be determined.
Yes, you all can wait on tenterhooks to see that. And I guess that's all for us. So until next time, keep working.
Keep on working, folks.